it's Joe AMoia, founder and creator of GPSforlove.com. One of the things I hear from a lot of members of our GPS for Love community is that they have no problem getting dates. The real problem, the real issue is getting second dates. So today I want to talk about some tips, some strategies that you can implement that will give you a better chance of getting that second date that you're looking for. So the first thing, and it's really, really important, and it sounds so simple, but you actually want to screen ahead of time. You want to identify, is this guy that you're going out with, is he a boy or is he a man? Is he the kind of guy that you're even looking for? You know, unfortunately, I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was single, I had a lot of people who were setting me up. And ultimately, I would go out on these dates and realize the only thing we had in common is that we were single and we both breathed air. Other than that, we have absolutely nothing in common. And I would go back to my friends and family members and say, you know, like, what the hell were you thinking? And they're like, you know, well, you know, you're a nice guy and you're single, and she's a nice girl and she's single. So I thought you two would hit it off. And I'm like, nope, that doesn't work. So this is why you want to screen ahead of time. If someone's setting you up, or even if you meet somebody at the grocery store or on Match.com or some other online source, you want to screen them ahead of time. You want to see, do you have the same morals, values, and goals? Do you want the same thing out of life? Are you going in the same direction? And a lot of times, simply by having a conversation or two, you'll get the answers. You'll say, you know what, this person's not even worth considering. Or you say, you know what, this sounds like the kind of person that I'm looking for. So just by doing that, you're going to greatly increase your chances of getting a second date if you make it to the first one. So that takes care of that. Screen ahead of time. The next thing you need to do is to present your best self. So that doesn't mean that you show up on your first date dressed to the nines, you know, with, you know, heels and a skirt and a business hat. Doesn't mean that at all. It means be you, but be the best you. You know, I can't tell you how many times, you know, myself and friends of mine have gone out on dates. And it's like, you know, this girl showed up and she had like spaghetti on her blouse, or, you know, she was in sweatpants. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, sweatpants, but there's a time and place for it. For the first thing, you know, first impressions make a huge deal to someone. So you've really got to be cognizant of that. And again, this works two-way street. So I'm not saying, you know, women should only adhere to these standards. Men need to do the same thing. And this is one of the ways you'll identify if it's the right guy for you. So you've got to be able to present your best self. Because I've been a guy for 49 years. I'm going to give it to you straight. It's one of the first things we look at is like, not the wow factor, but, you know, okay, not bad. You know, oh, she's attractive. You know, I can see myself being with her. You know, you want to get past that hurdle, just like you do the same thing with guys. But the better you present yourself, the better you'll give yourself the chance of a guy opening up and wanting to know you more. So that's the second one. The third one, and this is the big one, okay, is you've got to engage in conversation. I can't tell you, and again, this is a two-way street, but I can tell you how many guys have said, you know what, having a conversation was like pulling teeth. It's like, you know, it was just so difficult. I would ask questions, she would give like one-word answers, or she barely talked. Or if I didn't do all the talking, she didn't say anything. Now, you know, a lot of times this is because of self-confidence, you know, self-esteem issues. But if that's true, work on that stuff ahead of time before you start dating, because that will greatly impact the quality of your dates. So I also want you to understand is that us guys, we've got huge egos. We want to know that a woman is interested in us. Okay? And the best way to do that is actually have a conversation with us. Ask us about ourselves. Show interest in us. See what lights us up. Ask us about our passions, what we do for a living, why we do it for a living. You know, there's so many different areas that you can go. And that's really what having a conversation is. You don't get in there like you're interrogating him with this checklist of questions. You simply sit back and say, okay, who are you? What do you love? Where do you come from? Where do you want to go? What do you do for a living? What lights you up? And then what you want to try and do is find some areas of common interest. You know, if you both like music, you talk about the music you love, you know, why you love it. If you've been to certain concerts, if you know, have certain CDs in your collection, or, you know, in your iTunes folder, you know, whatever it may be, just find something where you can say, where he on the other end is like, hey, you know what? This chick's pretty hip. You know, she seems to have it together. You know, we seem to be on the same page. We seem to be clicking here. Okay? And one of the big things you got to do in having these conversations is to be open and honest. You know, don't show a guy that you've got any walls. Don't show a guy that you're going to be too much work to get to know, because he's going to be like, you know what, been there, done that. He wants a woman who's open and honest from the get-go. Now, that doesn't mean you dump everything on him in the first date. You don't share your biggest vulnerabilities with him. He's got to earn that right. And sometimes if there's something you're talking about and he wants to know more, one of the ways you can play around with it is say, you know what, no problem telling you about that, but we're going to save that to the future. Because now he's inquisitive, now he wants to know more, but he's also saying it's not that you're not going to talk about it, but he's got to earn that right to talk about it. And if he's a true man, he will step up and do that. Now, a big caveat in having these conversations, and I know it's difficult, especially for the middle-aged members of our community, is do not talk about sex. Sex is taboo. If you start talking about sex right away, you play right into the boy's hands. Okay, and then the oxytocin kicks in for you, and the adrenaline, and ooh, this there, and next thing you know, you're doing something that you're going to regret because you think if you sleep with a guy, he's going to fall in love with you. Nope, doesn't work that way. Trust me on that. Okay, so you can't talk about sex the first date. Okay, you want to talk about getting to know each other, and any guy who talks about sex on the first date and presses the issue is a boy, and he's showing you his true colors. And my recommendation is no matter how gorgeous he is, no matter how much chemistry there is, do not go out with the second date. Do not go out on a second date with him because you will regret it. So sex is off the table in the very beginning. You want a guy who's showing interest in you as a person and wants to know you for the awesome woman that you are. So you have to understand the best conversations are a lot like a tennis match. It's a natural flow back and forth where both people are engaging each other, showing interest in each other, asking questions about each other, simply having a dialogue to see, is this something that's worth pursuing? Is there some common interest here? Do we want the same things out of life? And when you find the right person, that will happen so naturally, so easily, and so effortlessly, you'll sit back and go, wow, this is so different than all the others. And that's one of the ways you know you found the right one. So that talks about the date itself. But there's also another part, the ending. Okay, it's the goodbye. What do you do? I hear this all the time. What do I do? Do I pay? Do I, say goodbye? Do I thank him? Do I give him a kiss? Like, what do I do? Like, what's proper? Well, there is no proper, but there are some things that will help you lead to that second date. And so the first one is obvious, is simply to thank him. Okay, genuine appreciation. Us guys love to be appreciated. We want to know that our efforts are being appreciated by our women. And so when you just generally thank him from your heart, that's awesome. Now, if you're out on a date in a restaurant, I recommend you just offer to pay for the tip, okay? Because, there's a natural lead that a man should take. And so a man should say, you know what? Hey, I'm the guy, I got this. Now, most of the time, if you offer to pay for the tip, most guys, you're going to say, you know what? Thank you, I appreciate it, but I've got this as well, okay? Some guys will be, okay, not that big a deal, but you don't want a guy who says, okay, right from the beginning, okay, this is 50-50. I understand it's 2015 and, we should be equals, but there's still natural energies to how relationships work. And a man is the one who steps up and takes that lead. That doesn't mean that you're subservient. He just means that that's how it works in a relationship, is a man leads because that's what men do. Okay? So you want to thank him. You want to show that appreciation. Guys love that. The second thing you want to do is, as you go to leave, is you want to give him a hug and you want to give him a peck on the cheek. Okay, what that does is that shows him that you're interested in him. Again, you don't want to start making out in the beginning. The reason being, you start going there, the oxytocin kicks in, the estrogen kicks in, the hormones kick in. For him, he gets a little rise in his Levi's, and the next thing you know, you start focusing on that again, and that's where the energy goes. Where a guy who's looking for a relationship and a woman who's looking for a relationship knows that, we will get there. Okay, if we're the right person for each other and we do our homework and we get to know each other, we will cross that bridge. And when we cross that bridge, it's going to be awesome. But you've got to focus on all those other things first. And if you don't believe me, look at those relationships where you jumped into bed too quick and then you ultimately realize that he wasn't the person you were looking for. So if you go there too soon, you get physical and intimate too soon, you're playing with fire. And when you play with fire, you usually get burned. And so after that, you give him that peck on the cheek. You say, thank you. I so appreciate this. Give him that nice big warm hug that he generally feels. Then you want to follow up with a text or email. And that simply says something along the lines, hey, I had a great time. I hope we can do this again, or look forward to doing this again. I'll talk to you later. I so appreciate it. Because again, that shows him that you've got class. That shows him that you're a woman of dignity. Because that's what a man is looking for. He's not looking for just some woman that he can take to bed. Those are the boys. A man is looking for a woman who knows how to appreciate a man, who knows how to show him that she is the woman that's worthy of being his partner. So I know I threw a lot at you today. You might want to go back and watch this 2, 3, 4 times. Actually might want to take some notes and then just start practicing. Start putting this into play and see how it works. And I guarantee you, if you do, you're going to see some really cool things start happening, and you're going to see a much better chance of getting that second date that you've been struggling to get. As always, it's an honor and privilege to be with you. I'll see you next time. Much love.